Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's Wednesday webinar. We're really excited to have you. We'll give people about 10 more seconds to continue to flow into the room, and then we'll kick things off because we have a lot of great information for you today. But I really want to thank you all for joining us today for today's webinar, Advancing Economic Mobility, Centering Job Quality First, and we will kick things off in about 10 seconds as the room continues to fill up. Okay, so it looks like those numbers are steadily rising. Again, welcome to today's Wednesday webinar, Advancing Economic Mobility, Centering Job Quality First. My name is Olivia Harp, and we're really excited to have you today. I am the program manager for network building. I'm really excited every Wednesday to come on and open these webinars with you all and just learn and engage with you all. So again, thanks for coming, and we are going to get started. So nothing has changed much here. Our housekeeping notes are the same. So this webinar will be recorded and provided via YouTube in the coming weeks. We have switched to Zoom. We hope that you guys are liking Zoom. It's backed by Well, it's been switched for reasons that you all shared with us. So all of our webinar attendees are muted to ensure sound quality, but we want you to ask your questions and share your thoughts at any time. Thoughts, best practices, success stories. We want to hear all of the good things coming from you all, and even talking about challenges and barriers. We want you to feel free to communicate with us throughout this entire webinar using the Q&A box. And if you experience any technical issues at all, please email us at zoomwebinar@prosperitynow.org. As always, we want you to get the most out of today's call. So we ask that you join from a quiet space. Get comfortable, get cozy, grab a snack. It's about time for that second coffee for some of us. Engage us again in the Q&A box. Leave your questions and comments as you listen along, and also reflect on ways to apply what you learned today in your own work. And so here at Prosperity Now, our mission is to inspire bold action and provide organizations with the tools, research, and resources needed to help people build prosperity so everyone can thrive. And so we have more opportunities for you all to engage us. And so I'm going to launch our very first poll. Well, our poll questions for today, just to get a better idea of where you all are coming from, how you're joining today's webinar, and what you wish to learn. And so I'm going to launch today's poll. And this is just a few questions that we want to ask you just to get a better idea of what's going on in your mind. So the first question is, what's the biggest barrier you see to advancing job quality among the businesses you support? And so your options are lack of financial resources, lack of awareness or understanding of job quality practices. That seems to be the winner right now. Concerns about operational capacity, short-term pressures outweighing long-term investments, or other. And if your answer or response is other, feel free again to use that Q&A box to engage us and share a little bit more about your answer. Our second question is, where would you most like to see stronger alignment between CDFIs and workforce development partners? And as we're going through today's webinar, these questions will kind of come up again for you to reconsider and re-answer as we move through today's content. And the third is, which job quality elements do your clients most consistently prioritize? So wages and benefits, stable scheduling and hours, opportunities for advancement, inclusive workplace culture, or health and safety protections. So I'll give everyone a few seconds to answer these questions so that we can get a better idea of how to fully navigate today's content, and then we will get the ball rolling. So our first question, the first runner up, is lack of awareness or understanding of job quality practice. That's good to know because that's what today's webinar is all about. And we'll also delve into those other aspects as well, such as limited financial resources or short-term pressures outweighing long-term investments. And then for our second question, we have two that are neck and neck. So the answers that stood out the most are joint business advising or coaching, and coordinated outreach and engagement. But the front runner is shared outcome tracking. So we'll definitely talk about that today. And for the third question, which job quality element do your clients most consistently prioritize? We have a very clear winner, wages and benefits. So we'll get into that. We'd like to hear your thoughts too as you're answering these questions, or even your perspective and what led you to selecting one option over the other. Feel free to use that Q&A box again to share anything. But thank you all for answering those poll questions. I'm going to share the results for you all so that you can see clearly where the room stands on these three questions. And again, we'll flash these questions throughout the webinar so that you can interact or even change your answers as we move through today's conversation. Okay, so I am going to introduce today's moderator, Corrine Stewart, who is the Program Manager for Community Impact here at Prosperity Now. You are certainly in good hands and definitely in for a great learning journey today.
Thank you, Olivia. Thank you so much. And thank you everyone for taking time out of your day to be with us. We really appreciate it. My name is Corrine Stewart, as it has been said. I'm the program manager for the community impact team at Prosperity Now, and also assisting with the Advancing Job Quality Initiative. And just to give a little bit of background about what the initiative is, if you've not heard of it yet, it empowers business serving organizations to help small businesses adopt practices that improve retention, enhance workplace culture, and promote economic mobility. We know that a good job is more than a paycheck. It builds loyalty, reduces turnover, and strengthens communities. And also that high quality jobs drive sustainable business growth and healthier local economies. So today, our session will challenge the idea that job quality is a luxury. It's a necessity for long-term businesses and community success, long-term business and community success. We'll focus on practical tested strategies for small businesses, medium-sized businesses, and workforce partners that they can use to make job quality a cornerstone, not an afterthought. We expect a forward-looking conversation that will equip you to lead, adapt, and build resilience through better jobs, not just more jobs. And so I'm going to introduce our speakers. So the first two of our speakers are actually going to be presenting their project to you. So our first speaker is Kate Garazzo. She's Executive Director for West Philadelphia Skills Initiative. Kate leads one of the nation's most effective workforce intermediaries, connecting underemployed residents to life-changing jobs. Under her leadership, the Skills Initiative has expanded employer partnerships and strengthened its focus on job quality at the systems level. And then we also have Sarah Steltz. She's the Senior Vice President of Strategy at UCD, and that stands for University City District. Sarah drives UCD's strategic initiatives to advance inclusive economic growth and workforce development in Philadelphia. She was instrumental in shaping UCD's job quality framework and long-term economic mobility vision. And later on, the last two of our speakers that I'm going to introduce will talk to you about the work that they do. So that will be Sharita Humphrey. She's the founder and CEO of Change in Motion. Sharita is the award-winning founder of Change in Motion, a boutique firm helping entrepreneurs grow through strategy, capital access, and procurement readiness. A former government auditor, she partners with major institutions to train and support underestimated founders across the country. And last but not least, we have Michi Stevens. She's a COO for In-Earth Consulting. And it's an HR firm specializing in strategic talent acquisition and workforce development. With a thriving talent ecosystem approach She helps businesses build resilient, empowered teams that support long-term success. So I've introduced those speakers, and now we will have Kate and Sarah come on to introduce their paper, their white paper, and I'll have them explain that to you.
Hi, everyone. My name's Sarah Steltz. It's great to be here. I think I'm going to give a broad overview of the economic mobility white paper that we published a few months ago. But to start, I want to give a little bit of organizational background. So you heard Kate from the Skills Initiative and Sarah from University City District. So I'm going to explain that relationship. University City District is the 28-year-old parent organization of the Skills Initiative, and it's a table where a lot of key stakeholders from our community, which is about 2.4 square miles in West Philly, come together. And those stakeholders include small businesses, major anchor institutions, commercial real estate firms, and local civic associations, all together and represented on our board. And depending on what part of our work you're looking at, you might think, well, this is a business improvement district, or maybe this is a CDC or a workforce development organization. But however you define it, we are all working together to make University City safer, cleaner, more vibrant, and filled with high quality, accessible economic opportunities. Next slide, please. You know what? And you can just honestly skip over this one. It's okay. And we do that work in a number of different ways. Back one. In a number of different ways, which we don't have time to get into today. What we're really focused on for today's conversation is economic opportunity at University City District, the cornerstone of which is really the Skills Initiative. And as you can see here from some of these other areas, for the first 15 years or so of its life, UCD was really focused on the physical space in University City, you know, what planners call the public realm. But in time, our leadership began to understand that you can't really sufficiently invest in a place if you're not also going to be investing in that place's people. And we knew that the economic opportunities at anchor institutions like University of Pennsylvania or Drexel or Children's Hospital, among others, were not always accessible to those in the communities that were surrounding them. So it was with that knowledge and that mission that we decided to create what was then called the West Philadelphia Skills Initiative, because initially this job training program was just for West Philadelphia residents. It's since expanded its footprint and changed its name to represent that. So it is now called the Skills Initiative. You can go to the next slide. I want to give some context about the job landscape in University City. So we have 12% of Philadelphia's total jobs within our geographic footprint, even though that geographic footprint is really 1.6% of Philadelphia in terms of the amount of land that we're talking about here. Next slide. And those jobs are relatively good when compared to the rest of the jobs in Philadelphia. Over 75% of the 85,000 jobs that we have in University City pay over $40K a year, compared to the other jobs in the city as a whole, where only 63% of them pay over $40K. And we know that this obviously isn't as high as we want it to be, but it does show a clear pattern about the types of work that we have available in University City. Next slide, please. So the foundational premise of the Skills Initiative, the workforce organization that we're talking about today, is that talent is equally distributed, but opportunity is not. We are what is traditionally called a workforce intermediary. So we're between the employer and the job seeker, and we're gaining information and building connections that improve the hiring experience for both parties and ultimately long-term outcomes that are positive for the employer and positive for the participant in our program. And we address the full hiring process of the Skills Initiative, meaning that we do an employer needs assessment, we move the whole way through recruitment, program design and delivery, placement and onboarding, the whole way to alumni supports. So we're supporting the full employee life cycle there. Next slide, please. a couple important things to know about how the Skills Initiative operates, just our basics. It is a cohort-based training program and it operates year-round. So to give you a sense, next year we'll run, and Kate may correct me, but I think around 30 cohorts in addition to all the alumni services we provide. And what's unique about the Skills Initiative, I think to some extent, is that each cohort is focused on one employer and traditionally just one role at that employer. And it's a jobs first program. And for us, that means that programs aren't designed and operated if there aren't enough jobs for every person in the cohort. So just to make sure everybody's with me, that would mean, if we're talking about Children's Hospital and they were interested in having us design a program for medical assistants, that there would need to be enough medical assistant openings to support folks getting placed into those jobs. So it doesn't always have to be employers that large, but that is generally how we like to think about a jobs first model. And the employers don't guarantee jobs, they only guarantee interviews. But because what we're developing for them is totally customized, they're really deeply engaged with us throughout the entire process. Since the programs are entirely tailored to the employer, they can be engaging with us even a year before a cohort starts. But all of our programs are tailored to individual positions. So that means that program length can vary anywhere from 3 weeks to 9 months. Okay, next slide, please. And this customized approach has really produced incredible results over the last about 14 years that we've been around. And what I'm showing here, these are the numbers from last year. I wanted to make sure to say that because the FY25 numbers are slightly better. We've now served over 2,000 people. Our placement rate is over 90%. You can go back just so folks can see the numbers. Placement rate is over 90%. Our hourly rate is up. And retention here, I want to point to, it's the hardest one to see, but perhaps the most important. It's coming in at 83%. So at 12 months. And compared to sort of the industry average, that is typically somewhere closer to 60%. So folks that are trained by the Skills Initiative are sticking and staying in these roles. And I want to be clear that these results were not easily reached. Initially, the Skills Initiative had to work really hard to earn the trust of employers, convincing them that there was a benefit to partnership. But as the program has proved its impact and built its reputation, we gained the leverage to be more selective about employers. And we were able to influence them more. And we endeavored really to work with the highest quality employers that we could over time. Next slide, please. And we've always been focused on the highest quality opportunity. Like if we had the choice, we would pick the higher quality job over the lower quality job. But about 6 years ago, we realized that we needed a more systematic and data-driven approach to evaluating job quality. And I think at that time, there really weren't that many off-the-shelf solutions. Like we couldn't just take a model and apply it to what we were doing. So we used a number of pieces of research and material, one from the United Nations, the Corporation for Skilled Workforce, and the Aspen Institute. All of these pieces of research we liked because they emphasized the multidimensional kind of person-centered definition of job quality. It's what Corinne said at the top, jobs are about more than just wages. I think that's captured nicely in this quote. But that also means, I think, really relevant to this audience, that even employers who have limited financial resources can make changes to how they operate that will impact their workforces because we use multiple factors, this multi-dimensional approach. Next slide, please. So when we were working on the job quality rubric, we pulled from over a decade of experience trying to identify job characteristics that mattered most to participants. And that was through conversation and retention data, and also, structured qualitative feedback. So data for our rubric, which I often, if you want to go back one more, data for the rubric, which I often call a scorecard because it is a quantitative assessment tool. It's gathered during the needs assessment phase with any employer, and it's supplemented with information from Lightcast, which is a labor market analytics platform. So when you look at this, we don't have time for me to run through every, the slide switched again, sorry. every component. But I will just point out that it's a mix of lived experience factors and labor market factors. So sure, we're asking about wages and we're asking about healthcare, but we're also thinking about, is this job going to get automated? What's the risk of layoff? How are employees supported? So I just want to stress that it is grounded in multiple different dimensions, and that each factor in our rubric or scorecard is weighted according to its demonstrated importance to our participants, because we want to make sure the tool remains participant-centered and grounded in real-world priorities. You can go to the correlations slide. And this Skills Initiative is in a lucky position. We have used Salesforce to track outcomes for most of the time we've been around, and that gives us the ability to do this kind of analysis. And the data that we have about the relationship between job quality, and a number of different outcomes that I'll go through really quickly, are compelling in a way that we think we can move employers and move the field. So as a reminder to those of us who haven't been in statistics for a while, correlation is the relationship between two things, and it goes from -1 to +1. So -1 would mean negative correlation. These things are going in opposite directions. 0 means no relationship, +1 means they're moving in the same directions. And we were able to demonstrate positive correlations between retention and job quality. Unsurprisingly, the higher job quality score, the more likely folks were going to remain in that role. And that especially became true at 12 months. It really was a big jump at the year mark with a 0.8% correlation. Wages, I know I'm running short on time, so wages also showed a strong correlation. So compensation is important, as everybody said in the beginning, but it isn't the only factor. We also were able to show that there's a relationship between job quality and the likelihood of job placement, meaning that if folks complete our training program, they are more likely to be placed if the training program is for a high quality job. And we did also note some negative correlations, one specifically with program completion, meaning if the job is of a higher quality, we had folks who were less likely to be able to complete those programs. And Kate's going to talk a little bit about, some of the supports that we put in place to deal with what we found in the analysis. So next slide. And I think that Kate can speak to a lot of this during the Q&A portion. But I just wanted to stress, we think that these are the things that are important to take away from what it is that we learned. The question of whether or not somebody got a job is in terms of economic mobility, long-term career growth. What is more important is questions about whether or not they're going to stay in that role, if the job can help them to support their family, and if they're going to be able to move up in time. I know we're going to talk a lot about employers as partners. Employers impacting employer practices is part of the ultimate goal. And this kind of analysis allows us to do that. And then economic mobility is the ultimate goal, meaning that workforce systems shouldn't prioritize just a quick connection to a job, but a connection to a high quality job that results in long-term economic mobility change. And we can end there. I know we're going to explore a lot of these topics in the fireside chat.
Thank you so much, Sarah. When I read this paper, I was really blown away by all of the research that you guys uncovered. And thank you so much for both you and Kate for working so diligently on this topic. And so now we're going to move on to Michi. And okay. And just so you guys know, we're having just a couple of glitches with the slides. It keeps advancing on its own, so we apologize. And so we'll have Michi come on to give a synopsis of the work that she does. And I'm going to spotlight you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Okay, what's taking so long with the camera? Can you see me?
All right, there you go. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I pray that everyone is having a great day. My name is Amici Stevens, the COO at Earth Consulting. We are a HR consulting firm, but we do a lot of workforce development, talent acquisition, and those things. So our slogan is "We know people." So in various aspects of that. So today we're gonna talk about job placement to job quality, strategies that businesses can use in order to, make sure that they are having good job quality. And for me, it's a mindset shift. It's a shift in the way that we think about and go about jobs. So it's moving beyond simply connecting individuals to jobs to ensuring that jobs provide sustainable economic mobility and well-being. And within that, the job placement focus. So it's matching those skills to available roles. I've worked even before, creating my own business, working for different corporations and different things like that. A lot of times we take the resume, we look at the resume, and we, build out a job description and we connect it in that way. And sometimes we don't always make the best matches. Some of the best people that I've hired didn't exactly fit what the managers were looking for. So sometimes it goes beyond the just, okay, we're going to take these and we're going to look at this and that's how we're going to do it. We got to get past that mindset. And within the job placement focus is filling vacancies quickly, making sure that we're measuring success by the employment rates, like what's going on in the economy, and then making necessary adjustments. Within that is the job quality focus. Fair and living wages. We all know since COVID, there's been 20 to 30% or more spikes in just about every bill out there. I know my water bill, my car insurance, my homeowner's insurance, just about everything has gone up since COVID, and it has not come back down. So ensuring that we have good compensation to meet basic needs, which allows for people to save, to grow, and to be above minimum wage, to be above poverty levels in order to be able to sustain their lifestyle. Comprehensive benefits, offering health insurance, paid time off, retirement plans, and then other benefits that support employee well-being, which could be EAP programs, could be, I know one plan I had, they gave us Fitbit and, exercise goals. It did just a lot of different things that were above the traditional medical dental vision. Offering those supportive work environments, which fosters culture, fosters inclusion, safety, people being able to come together in a work environment, because let's just face it, we're spending 40 hours plus a week working. So we need to make sure that the environments are conducive for the employees with their physical well-being, their spiritual, their emotional, all of those things, having flexible work arrangements, whether it's remote or hybrid, or, some companies I worked for in the past had flexible hours where you could make your schedule anywhere between 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. at night. So just being able to support what's currently going on in our economic economy. Skill development and career pathways, investing in training, upskilling, opportunities for people to advance and grow with the company, whether that's a tuition reimbursement, whether that's personal development, courses being offered through the learning and development platforms. Here in the state of Texas, and I'm sure other states probably have something similar, but I am not familiar with those other states. The state of Texas, we have a couple of different programs. One is the Skills for Small Business program, where if you are under 100 employees, you can get funding through the Texas Workforce Commission through various partners and trainers to get annual training for your staff. And they allot a certain amount for new employees and for employees that have been working over 12 months. Anybody who has, you don't necessarily have to be headquartered in Texas, but you do have to have employees that live in Texas that you have paid into the Texas unemployment account. So if anybody would like information, please reach out to me. It's very easy to get qualified and to get training at no cost to you if you are headquartered in Texas or have employees in Texas. Also under the job quality focus, employee voice and engagement. So creating mechanisms for employees to provide feedback through surveys, through employee engagement practices, allowing them to be able to contribute to decision-making, feeling valued. Those surveys can go out quarterly, and it could be simple 5-question surveys. You could do employee engagement programs when, like at my company, we're a remote company, so we don't have an office that we meet in, but we do have virtual connections where we will have coffee and chats, different things like that, just to get our team engaged since we are a remote force company. For small and medium-sized businesses, that could be startups, small scale-ups, anything like that. If you're smaller in nature, you don't have to implement all of those at once. You can start with 1 or 2 of the job quality elements at a time. And over time, you're building quality jobs. For me, I would suggest starting, of course, with your fair and living wages and your benefits. I work with brokers all the time that they don't charge per se to review your benefits. And a lot of times we can save companies money with their benefits, and then they're able to create even more robust plans from there. Also, leveraging local resources, partner with local workforce boards, chambers of commerce, nonprofits, supporters of workforce development, upskilling, skills, best practices, those kind of things, in order to make sure that you are leveraging what is available out there. And a lot of times it's simply because we don't know that the information, the funding, the program is there. And then communicate value, highlight job quality improvements as a recruitment and retention tool. A lot of times people don't leave jobs because of money all the time. Sometimes it's management, sometimes it's stagnation in positions, but just knowing what is out there and then being able to communicate and then connect on those. And then systematic shifts for sustained job quality. I'm all about transforming and building ecosystems. So create an environment where job quality is the norm, not the exception. Right now, it's all over the place. And we need to create some normality of having good job quality. And that goes to some of the systematic shifts with our policy policies and incentives through government programs, through procurement, through workforce development and education, skills first approaches, apprenticeships and on-the-job training, bridge programs. There's so many things out there, and just being able to tap into it, making sure that we are collecting data. How are we managing the data? There's just so much that can be done and that we can be doing. And I'm so grateful to have come in contact with Karine in this program, because that goes to the next point that I had, which is a community of practice and collaboration, which is those cross-sector partnerships between businesses, workforce organizations, educators, labor unions, like involving everyone in the community to push these initiatives forward. And then shared learning, creating platforms for businesses to share best practices, challenges, and solutions, and implementing job quality initiatives. Because sometimes you get in a silo and you don't realize that there are other things and other people out there who are doing and experiencing the same things that you are. And when those ecosystems are built, it gives people a way to connect and collaborate in that way. And then the last point that I'm going to make is investment in your human capital. Encourage businesses to view employees as assets and invest in their long-term growth and well-being. Because when we do that, you're going to build loyalty, you're going to build commitment. And those employees, when they feel valued, when they're looked at as an asset and not a number or whatever, they're going to be productive, they're going to refer other people, and that's just going to make that organization stronger. And then public investment, which is increased funding for programs that support worker training, childcare, transportation, and other factors that enable job quality and economic mobility. Thank you so much for your time today. I greatly appreciate the opportunity to speak on this subject.
Thank you so much, Michi. We really appreciated that valuable information that you shared with us. And I'm sure everyone was taking notes, because I definitely was. We're going to then get to Sharita to just for about 3 minutes or 4 minutes to share the work that she's doing and any programs that you're aligned with, Sharita. And you can come on camera now. I'll spotlight you.
Okay. Thank you so much for having me. Hello, everyone. I am Sharita Humphrey. I'm the CEO and founder of Change in Motion LLC. We're a small business advisory and economic development consulting company here in Texas. One of the things that's important to us is to be able to talk about is some of the things that many CDFIs are looking at, and what the work and how we're working with CDFIs is really partnering with them, especially when it comes to their rural employers. One of the things is of working with a lot of the rural employers, working with the academia that is attached to many of those rural communities. They want to be able to be in a position to be able to gain valuable resources, not only just capital. Of course, they are there to be lenders, but they're also looking for opportunities for growth. When we're talking about growth, many of them are having real difficult struggles gaining opportunities that are more available to those that are in metropolitan cities, of course, me being in Houston. One of the things that they're looking for is access to what Michi mentioned, is not knowing, and I think awareness and education, especially when we're talking about employers of all sense, but especially when we're talking about rural employers. For a lot of our work and what we're doing, we're going into those underserved communities, including rural communities, and helping them to position themselves for better capital, teaching them where a capital path, but also showing them the resources and opportunities opportunities that they can lead by going into state and local contracting. A lot of rural employers don't realize that they can expand their opportunities through economic growth by working within their local municipalities. One of the things that a lot of small businesses don't realize, especially those who are in rural communities, is that their county commissioner tends to have the largest budgets in the states. So making sure that they understand how to be able to leverage those opportunities and working with those community outlets that have access to grants, other opportunities for funding. But one of the things is most small businesses need, and that's what we help them with, is helping them to identify visibility opportunities and really working with them to understand how to not only put themselves in a position to be able to gain capital, whether that's from a CDFI or more of a traditional banking for those who are further on in their business, but helping those even from an ideation phase. Because a lot of times you have a great idea, but helping them to identify, how does this business match up with your competitors? Have you done any market research? Do you understand what your bail team need, the needs of a bail team? Making sure you understand that why a banker, an attorney, why insurance, and having legal representation or even access to affordable legal is important. But also when we're talking about small business for us and helping our clients, we help them to not only look for these opportunities, but we're right there with them. So providing technical assistance to them is important to us because we want to be able to teach them how to fish. We want them to be able to understand how to be able to do this and duplicate this time and time again, because we saw many businesses close. But one of the things that a lot of these businesses, as we did data sets, and I think they talked about that when Kate talked about this is important, is doing those data analytics. Most small businesses, especially of those who are in underserved communities and rural communities, they don't keep their standard operations are not there. They don't have those foundational basics. And so for us is to be able to show them how to get back to the business basics so they can grow and scale. So how to be able to do that is to be able to provide hands-on coaching, helping them to understand how to be able to position themselves, understanding how to be able to access their credit, read their credit reports, and not get caught up in having to do some of those things where they're wiping everything from their credit, even the good stuff. So we really deep dive into what the business needs, but we also speak we're from a people position, because most of the time small businesses, they think small, but it's all about mindset shift. Letting them know you're the chief executive officer, you're the founder. So let's be able to make sure that the vision that you have for this stacks up to what's happening in the back on the other side of the business that your clients and customers may not be able to see. Lastly, one of the things that's important is to know other revenue opportunities. There's a lot, we're in an economic whirlwind, not just in the US, but globally, but figuring out what is it that you can do when it comes to growing your business. How do you continue to be able to look at this? But one of the things that we let entrepreneurs know, let's just say for the city of Houston, I'm in Houston just for an example, there's about 12% of investor and angel capital left in the city of Houston. So most small businesses don't realize what's left when they're talking about they're looking for access to funding. Do you know what the funding opportunities are? What are the percentages? Is funding opportunities from an angel or a VC or other type of funding opportunities? Do you know that information? Because then that lets you stack up and really be able to look at whether is this the opportunity or do I need to expand out? So we really want them we teach them from a more holistic approach when it comes to talking about small business growth, from ideation, growth, and then scaling.
Thank you so much, Sharita. We really appreciate your contributions, and we're going to move on to the panelist discussion portion of this webinar. And let me just switch this view. Okay. And this question, the first question I'm going to be asking is really for all of our panelists, Sarah, including Sarah. So the first question that I have, and I guess it's best for me to kind of call upon how I see you guys in my view. So what mindset shifts are needed among funders or employers to move from job creation to quality job creation? And so I'm going to have Kate answer first. And I'm going to just repeat the question. What mindset shifts are needed among funders or employers to move from job creation to quality job creation?
Great. Thank you for the question. Hi, everyone. Kate Garrazzo, Executive Director at the Skills Initiative. I'd say that funders and employers need to see that job creation alone is not a success metric. Retention, mobility, and dignity are the metrics that we should be using. So that requires moving beyond volume metrics and instead investing in things like wraparound supports or strong onboarding, equitable management practices, instituting career ladders or career lattices that are clear and articulated. So employers must recognize that treating workers as talent, not cost centers, is a business advantage. And funders must figure out how to align their dollars with long-term outcomes, not just short-term outputs, right? So this shift is from a transactional hiring mindset to transformational employment mindset, and really looking at things for longevity as opposed to like a volume output.
Thank you. And Sharita, would you like to weigh in on that?
I'd have to say, just to piggyback off of what Kate said about the funding aspect of from the funders, one of the things is, 'cause my background is VC and angel investing, is that really for them to realize that I understand that they want their return for the investment, but really thinking about it and being on the other side and putting themselves in the seat of the person that's raising that and asking for that capital. I know, especially at this time, we understand that capital costs, but understanding that they need to, especially for those who are looking to funding, and Kate, please join in on this. A lot of times they don't understand how to be able to read those term sheets. And many entrepreneurs get themselves locked into term sheets and deals that are not beneficial to them. And it only is beneficial to the funders. So if you really want to be an investor of dollars, knowing and not taking advantage of the lack of knowledge, but it's also on the small business owner to be able to utilize the resources that are provided here. And with all of the amazing women on this panel that are helping to be able to educate them, because a lot of small businesses give a lot of their monies away for funders and angels, and not understanding the true process of what it means to be able to have give equity into your company, and really understanding that all equity is not equal, and it may not be beneficial for you. It may be beneficial for you to be able to really look at other resources, talking to your CDFIs, going more into your traditional banking, looking at the mindset of not just hopping on the first deal, because that's could be the one that it could be a great deal, but it's probably not the best deal for you from the long-term perspective.
Thank you so much. And just to piggyback on that question, and Kate, I would love if you could answer this. Have you ever spoken openly with funders and talked about what type of obligations they feel to educate the people that are receiving funds on some of what Sharita has explained?
No, not specifically, I would say. I think that the space that we're in as a workforce development organization is often in a slightly different space. Like the Venn diagram of the work that we do is pretty tight, but we're in a functionally different space, I think. And but I think that the advice, if I were in the position to do that, I would speak very openly about this. I think one of the hallmarks of the Skills Initiative and the work we do at UCD is that we remain consistent to our values, and we speak like the hard truths, because we see that as our responsibility to get everyone, right, whatever part you play in this, to move to like a really equitable quality positioning. And we know what that takes, and we know it's hard work, and we know it takes culture change, it takes investment, it takes resources, but part of our even our brand, I would say, is saying those tough, hard things out loud.
Yes, thank you. Sarah? I'm sorry, I saw you came on camera, so I was like, did you have something to say?
No, I just wasn't 100% sure of what my instructions were. No, I think
Oh,
Kate
okay.
captured.
Well,
Kate
we're just having a
captured.
casual conversation, so if you wanted to kind of, say your piece, it's welcomed.
I guess from my perspective, managing the data and research side of the house, what that kind of information allows us to do is say the hard truths that Kate's pointing out in such a way that what we hope is folks don't have another option but to hear us out, because the numbers support it. And what we want is for folks to make these changes and acknowledge these truths out of the goodness of their heart. But if we can't get there, then we do have the data to show them that it is also going to save them money. It's going to leverage their investment. It's going to produce better outcomes. So we try to pair everything that we're doing with that backup.
Thank you so much. And Michi, we'll have you answer the question as well, and then we'll switch to a different one.
Yeah, they got it. I don't have anything else to
Okay.
add. They
All right.
pretty
Thank
much
you.
summed it up.
I appreciate that. And so lending it back to Kate, what's one specific action someone in your role can take to push job quality forward in your ecosystem?
Yeah. So my role is that I lead a workforce development organization. So in that particular position, folks in my position, we have an opportunity to curate employer demand, not just respond to it. So that means setting the bar for partnership, right? We work only with employers committed to equity and living wages and strong supervision and advancement pathways. So by being selective and values driven, we shift power toward job seekers and are actively participating in creating a marketplace where job quality is the cost of entry, right? So this sets new norms for employers, and it also drives systemic change across the industries in which we're operating. And our vision and goal is that that continues kind of to radiate out. And the work that we do in Philadelphia can be translated into any place. Our employers are not special. I mean, don't tell them that, but they are not like unique, I guess would be the way to say it, to any other employer in any other area. So that that curation of employer demand, that creation of a marketplace where that job quality is the cost of entry, is a really specific action that folks that lead workforce development organizations or boards could take to influence job quality.
Thank you so much. And this question is for any one of the panelists. How do you measure the long-term impact of your support on worker retention, well-being, or mobility?
I think you do that by what we've been talking about, and that's having the data points, having the metrics that we're evaluating things by. It's creating the program, the ecosystem, the pathway, whatever it is that is being done, and having the data to back it up. So for example, some of the companies I work with, I always include in the strategy sessions and planning that we want to get to, if they are below 50 percentile for wages, that we do those step progressions. We go 50, 75, then we're paying 100%. So that's just one example on how you can measure that. Now it may take you a year or two to get to the 50th percentile, and then another few to get to 75. But it's just really putting the initiative in place and then putting the metrics behind it to actually measure the success of it.
Thank you. Anybody else want to jump in?
I would say, so at the Skills Initiative, we track our outcomes long past placement. So our data systems really allow us to monitor our retention. How, you know, and when Sarah was presenting, she was sharing that our retention, 1-year retention rate average is about 83%. So we're really tracking very intentionally there. And we benchmark against national studies, as Sarah shared, showing that our participants, many of whom face structural barriers to employment, actually outperform national averages on job retention. So that's one. And we also use qualitative feedback to assess changes in well-being and in their stability, such as housing security, access to healthcare, family support, and all of these other like major components to having a quality life outside of your quality job, and things that having a quality job allow you to access. So over time, we look for evidence of wage progression, role advancement, if there's any employer-sponsored credentialing or access to continuing education. All of those we see as signs or indicators that our participants are not just employed, but are experiencing economic mobility, are moving up, and are progressing along there. So that's the way that we do it. We're constantly striving to evolve our data capture and data systems to get to really zero in on retention, well-being, mobility, and all of those other markers. But I think we do a pretty good job. And one of the unique things about our organization is we've been collecting that data from the very beginning. So we have 15 years worth of data to really back up what we're saying, and to back up the decisions that we make for how we move directionally and operationally as an organization.
Thank you. That's some good hard data, right? You can't switch up facts, right? It's not opinions, it's facts. So thank you so much for that. Any of the other panelists want to jump in on that question? Okay. All right. So we have another question. What barriers do small and mid-sized businesses in your portfolio, those who directly work with small businesses, face when trying to implement good job principles like living wages, consistent scheduling, or advancement pathways? Sharita?
Yes, so working with small businesses, one of the barriers that they have is that many of them just don't have, or they don't realize that they do have the opportunity to be able to hire talent. Most of the time, they're trying to wear 17 hats, and they don't understand, to be able to truly grow and scale, that they have to invest into quality talent. One of the things I think Mechi mentioned is they don't understand what the resources are that are on the local and state level that could assist them to be able to get the talent that they need, to be able to really be able to put themselves out there and become more competitive in the marketplace. A lot of times they don't understand how to be able to offer a quality wage, what that looks like, because many of them are barely paying themselves, and even if at all. So looking at that and just talking about some of those things are barriers. Barriers are the mindset of thinking that they could do everything. The second one is thinking, not realizing the resources that are out there, because many of them are still what I like to call corporatepreneurs. They're working a 9-to-5. So a lot of times they don't have the opportunity to be able to go out and look, but letting them know that the resources are at their workforce commissions and their solutions, but also looking at the opportunities that the city's offering to them as well when it comes to being able to hire and potentially have interns during the summer. There's a lot of additional programming that they don't realize that are out there that could help support them getting quality talent. But one of the things that I also see is, do they need to bring in immediate talent? As someone who comes from a government background and really looking at seeing the disparity and then the lack of education when it comes to hiring, a lot of times they don't realize, I like to do it, what they try before you buy, also known as staffing agencies, because they don't then have to take on that response, that tax liability, and them filing those 940s and those 941s quarterly. Allowing the staffing agency to be able to put an additional fee on top of this will save them from a lot of tax implications, because a lot of times when they do start to hire and they unfortunately have to let someone go, they don't realize what can happen, and that their tax rates with the workforce commissions could increase, which would ultimately have a negative impact on our overall bottom line when it comes to their business. So many be shy away from hiring, especially after that one time or 2 times or 3 times of having to deal with the workforce solutions and having to pay unemployment taxes back. They didn't realize that all of the things that came behind it. So I think more education on what it truly means to be able to hire, and ultimately maybe going through a staffing agency to kind of just really see what type of employer they are and what talent do they really need to be able to grow and scale.
I totally agree with that. Everything Sharita said. And it's really having your talent strategy, like building that internal team. And one thing that I've coined, because talent acquisition is part of my background, is I've combined exactly what Sharita stated, which is the old school staffing model with the virtual aspect. So it's called virtual managed staffing. And what most small businesses don't have is a lot of time. They have a lot of hats that they're wearing. And so to have to train, to have to onboard, to have to payrolling, background checks, creating job descriptions, doing all these things takes time as well away from a small business owner. So that is one of the niche products that my company created to fill in that gap. And so we become the person handling all of that, and the person is working for that particular business. It's knowing what your business is, what it's doing, and what type of talent you need, and creating that strategy to make it work for you. And knowing when you need to go from a 1099 contractor to fractional to W-2. It's just knowing what you need, because not everyone needs a W-2 employee. It just really all in a matter of knowing what you need and being able to build job quality off of your specific need in your business.
Thank you so much, everyone, for your contributions to this webinar. I think that we're in good hands in the future in creating good jobs, good quality jobs. And I'm gonna give it back over to Olivia to close us out. And I also want to say, I want to put the link for enrolling in our Good Jobs Network, well, our Advancing Job Quality Network. I use that interchangeably, so that everyone can learn a little bit more about the initiative that Prosperity Now is doing. And thank you so much, everyone, for attending.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you to all of our speakers as well. There's a lot of great content, and I'm sure that I echo what many feel in the audience, is that we did not have enough time to cover this all. And so we hope to have more opportunities and learning opportunities to engage you all around this learning, and even bring back some of our wonderful panelists for today for follow-up conversations. It's very clear that you all are super passionate about the work that you do, and we definitely want to make sure that we can expose our networks to you as much as possible. So thank you to all of the panelists and the content planning team for helping to bring this webinar together. This is our third and final installment of this webinar series around advancing job quality, but it's a see you later. It's not a goodbye. We're definitely going to continue to have conversations around this work, because as we asserted at the very beginning of this webinar, that job quality is not a luxury, it is a necessity for economic empowerment, not only for businesses and employees, but for communities and families. And so moving forward, we want you to visit our website to stay up to date around the great work that we're doing in this area. We want you to complete today's survey. Let us know what you think about today's webinar, what you got out of it, and also sign up for our network. So Karina is dropping an important link in the chat for you to join the network for this specific work, but also join our entrepreneurship network at Prosperity Now, so you can be invited to all of the webinars that we offer in this topic area, and let us know your suggestions for future calls. So again, I want to thank you all. It's always great coming on here on Wednesdays and getting to know you all, speaking more with you all. And until next time, have a great one.
Thank you, everyone. And if you didn't
Thank
get a chance to
you.
get the link out, we'll send it out with the recap.
Absolutely. Thank you.